Why do some people with average talent and ordinary beginnings end up living extraordinary lives filled with freedom, wealth, and respect, while others with brilliance, opportunity, and potential never quite escape the cycle of stress and survival? It's not because life is unfair. It's not because opportunity only knocks for a chosen few. The difference, more often than not, comes down to a single force: discipline. Welcome to The Long Game. I'm Nathan, your host, and today we're diving into a truth that quietly shapes the destiny of every individual: the discipline dividend. It's not a flashy idea. It doesn't sound revolutionary, but once you understand it, you'll see how every great achievement, whether in finance, health, work, or even peace of mind, has been paid for by years of discipline. Imagine a seed planted in the soil. You water it, you protect it, you wait. For weeks, nothing appears. Months pass, and still it looks like nothing is happening. But underground, the roots are spreading. They are laying the foundation for growth that will last decades. Discipline works exactly like that. At first, it feels like nothing, like wasted effort, like too small to matter. But given enough time, it transforms into a dividend, a payoff you could never achieve overnight. Think of money. You deposit small amounts consistently, and at first it's invisible progress, maybe even frustrating. But then compound interest starts to work. A tiny balance becomes something meaningful, and as the years roll forward, the numbers swell into something that feels unbelievable. That's not magic, it's math. And discipline is the same math applied to every aspect of life. Consider your health. Eating well today doesn't transform your body tomorrow. Doing 10 push-ups doesn't make you strong. Reading one page doesn't make you wise. But when those acts repeat, day after day, they stack, they layer, they grow. And years later, the person who practiced discipline lives in a completely different world than the person who chased only comfort and impulse. Here's a simple way to see it. Imagine two friends. One lives by impulse, spends every paycheck, eats every craving, and chooses entertainment over growth. The other lives by discipline, saves automatically, eats with intention, and reads instead of numbing out. Fast forward 5 years, the impulsive one is buried under debt, battling declining health, and feeling stuck. The disciplined one has savings, stronger health, sharper thinking, and a reputation for reliability. Now push the timeline forward 10 or 20 years. The gap is no longer just a little difference. It is a canyon, two worlds that barely resemble each other. That canyon is the dividend of discipline. It's not immediate, but it is inevitable. And that's why today's conversation matters. Because while most people chase shortcuts, while they look for hacks, while they try to escape the discomfort of effort, those who embrace discipline quietly accumulate a fortune of results. They build resilience, they build credibility, they build options, and eventually they build freedom. But here's the secret. Discipline is not just about saying no. It's about saying yes to your future self, to your long-term vision, to the kind of life you want to live. It's about redirecting energy away from instant gratification and investing it into actions that pay compound interest over time. This episode is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about understanding how discipline functions as a kind of invisible investment account. Every action a deposit, every repeated choice a contribution, every habit a compounding force. And eventually, the dividend is paid out in forms money cannot fully capture: energy, confidence, respect, and peace. So as you listen, think about your own life. Where are you planting seeds of discipline? Where are you letting impulses rob you of tomorrow? And most importantly, what small actions could you begin today that would, years from now, pay you dividends far beyond what you can imagine right now? Stay with me, because in the next part, we'll break down exactly why discipline compounds like interest, why consistency is a superpower, and why the rewards are so disproportionate to the effort, if you're willing to stay in the game long enough.
When most people think about success, they imagine a big event, a lucky break, a sudden windfall, something dramatic like winning the lottery, getting discovered, or stumbling into the right investment at the right time. But the truth is far less exciting and far more reliable. Success, in almost every field, is the product of accumulated discipline. Think about it like this. Compound interest doesn't just grow your money, it grows your habits, your skills, your reputation, even your emotional resilience. Every small, disciplined act is like a deposit into an account you can't see today, but that will one day pay out in ways you can't ignore. Let's break it down with money first, because it's the easiest metaphor. Suppose you save $100 every month. At the start, it feels like nothing. You look at your account and it's small, even discouraging. Meanwhile, your friend spends every dollar. For years, nothing looks that different. But when time passes, compounding begins to reveal itself. After a decade, the disciplined saver has thousands. After 2 decades, tens of thousands. With growth and returns, maybe hundreds of thousands. And the spender? They have the memories of nights out, but not the freedom that wealth brings. That is the financial form of the discipline dividend. But let's take it out of money, because the principle runs deeper. Consider discipline in your health. Imagine you commit to walking 30 minutes a day, just walking, nothing extreme. At first, there's no visible change. Your body looks the same. The scale barely moves. And you might wonder, is this worth it? But stack that up over months. You start feeling lighter. You sleep better. You're less stressed. A year passes, and your energy feels different. 10 years later, that simple act of walking has protected you from diseases, extended your lifespan, and given you quality of life you can't buy with money. That's the dividend. Or take skill development. Say you decide to write 1 page every morning. It doesn't sound like much. 1 page. Anyone can do that. But most don't. Now, let's play it forward. 1 page a day is 365 pages in a year. That's a book. In 10 years, you have 10 books. You've become an author, a thinker, a creator. And all you did was apply discipline daily. Meanwhile, someone else says, "I'll write when inspiration strikes." They wait, they hope, they dabble. 10 years later, they have nothing to show but good intentions. The gap is staggering. Here's another area where discipline compounds invisibly. Reputation. When you're disciplined in showing up on time, in doing what you say, in delivering consistently, people begin to trust you. At first, it's subtle. But over years, that trust turns into opportunity. Employers promote you. Clients recommend you. Friends rely on you. Doors open because your name carries weight. And what did it cost? The discipline of following through. This is why the discipline dividend feels almost unfair. Because the effort is front-loaded and invisible, but the payoff is back-loaded and obvious. It's like planting trees. You water them, protect them, nurture them. For years, you live in the shade of nothing. But then suddenly, The trees are towering, giving fruit, providing shelter. Everyone sees the forest. Few remember the years of watering. And here's the paradox. The earlier you start, the more unfair the advantage becomes. A small act of discipline, started today, compounds for years. The person who delays says, "I'll start later," not realizing that later means they've missed out on years of compounding. Just like investing, the biggest cost of lost discipline is lost time. Let's bring it closer to the self. Discipline in thoughts and emotions. When you practice self-control, pausing before reacting, choosing patience over anger, gratitude over complaint, you're rewiring your brain. The first time, it's hard. The 10th time, still uncomfortable. But after a year, it becomes second nature. And when crises come, you're calm while others panic. That emotional discipline pays dividends not only in peace of mind, but in leadership, relationships, and resilience. Think of athletes, the ones who train even when no one is watching. The discipline to stretch, to rest properly, to stick to nutrition, to repeat drills thousands of times. Their performance on the big stage looks superhuman, but really, it's just compounded discipline finally revealed under the spotlight. Or investors like Warren Buffett. He's not the smartest man in the world, and he will tell you that himself. But he is disciplined. Disciplined to stick to his circle of competence, disciplined to buy businesses he understands, disciplined to avoid hype. His fortune is not a miracle. It is the discipline dividend compounded over 70 years. The greatest irony is that most people underestimate discipline because it feels boring. It's not glamorous to say, "I saved money today," or "I read 10 pages," or "I went to bed on time." No one claps for you. There are no fireworks. But 10 years later, people call you lucky. They call you gifted. They call you successful. And you know the truth. It wasn't luck. It was deposits of discipline, compounding silently until the dividend became undeniable. So here's the key takeaway. Discipline is not punishment. It's investment. It's not about restriction. It's about freedom. Every disciplined choice today is a gift you send to your future self. And just like compound interest, the earlier you start, the bigger the payout. In the next part, we'll explore how you can train discipline into your daily life, not through willpower alone, but through systems, habits, and environments that make discipline natural, because the dividend of discipline is too powerful to leave to chance.
Now that we've seen how discipline compounds like interest, the question becomes, how do you actually train it? Because if discipline were as simple as telling yourself, just do it, everyone would already be living their dream life. But discipline isn't about brute force willpower. Willpower fades, it burns out. Discipline is about design. Designing systems, habits, and environments that make the right choice the default and the wrong choice harder to slip into. Let's start with systems. Think about saving money. If you rely on willpower to save at the end of the month, you'll fail most of the time because impulses get in the way. But if you automate your savings, set it to pull from your account on payday, suddenly discipline becomes invisible. The system does the heavy lifting. The same applies to your health. If your fridge is filled with junk food, you're going to eat junk food. But if you design your environment, stock it with real food, cut up vegetables in advance, prep meals ahead, you've shifted discipline from a daily fight into a structural advantage. Systems are discipline in disguise. They turn choices into defaults. Next, let's talk about habits. A habit is discipline made automatic. At first, habits require effort. Waking up early feels like climbing a mountain. Writing daily feels unnatural. But as repetition sets in, the act moves from effort into rhythm. And once it becomes rhythm, the energy cost drops to almost zero. That's when discipline truly pays out, because you're no longer fighting yourself. It becomes who you are. The key is to start small. Don't aim to overhaul your life in 1 week. Build a tiny foundation. 1 push-up, 1 page, $1 saved. It seems laughably small, but that's the point. Once the habit exists, you can scale it. Just as compound interest starts with pennies, discipline starts with single steps. Environment is the third piece. We often imagine ourselves as lone warriors battling temptation, but environment shapes us more than we admit. Want to read more? Keep books visible and your phone away when you're winding down. Want to exercise? Put your workout clothes out the night before. Want to save more money? Spend time with people who value financial responsibility instead of those who pressure you to spend. Discipline grows in environments that support it and withers in environments that drain it. You don't have to be the strongest person in the room if the room itself is designed to make the right choice easy. Now let's step back and look at what happens when you live this way. When you train discipline, it doesn't just add to your life, it multiplies across every dimension. In your finances, you gain security. Instead of living in anxiety about bills, you live in confidence that your money is working for you. In your health, you gain energy. Instead of dragging yourself through the day, you feel sharper, lighter, more alive. In your work, you gain reputation. Instead of being seen as unreliable, you become the person others count on. In your relationships, you gain respect. Instead of reacting impulsively, you show up with patience, consistency, and presence. And, perhaps most importantly, in your inner life, you gain freedom. Because discipline is not chains, it is the opposite. The person who cannot resist impulses is not free. They are a prisoner of craving. The person who has trained discipline can say no, can delay, can choose. And that choice is the essence of freedom. There's a story I once heard about a farmer. Every day he woke early, tended his fields, and stored away part of his harvest. Neighbors mocked him, said he was too serious, too boring, wasting the best years of his life in work. But when famine came, their fields were empty, their stores were bare. They were desperate. And the farmer? He opened his barns, filled with grain. He not only survived, he helped others survive. His discipline paid a dividend not just to himself, but to his community. That is the hidden magic of discipline. Its dividends ripple outward. Your family, your friends, your coworkers, even strangers, everyone benefits from the fruits of your consistency. Now imagine your own life 10 years from now. If you lean in to discipline, if you plant the seeds, set the systems, and stick to the habits, what dividends might you collect? Financial independence? A body that can keep up with your dreams? A mind that stays calm in chaos? Relationships built on trust instead of tension? All of that is available, but only if you start making deposits now. The temptation will always be there to look for shortcuts, to avoid discomfort, to wait until tomorrow. But remember this, every day without discipline is not neutral. It's a day of compounding lost. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is today. So as we close, Let me leave you with this. Discipline isn't about being harsh with yourself. It's about being kind to your future self. It's sending gifts forward in time so that when you arrive in the years ahead, you are welcomed by abundance instead of scarcity, by strength instead of regret. That is the discipline dividend. It's not loud, but it's lasting. It doesn't come fast, but when it arrives, it changes everything. I'm Nathan, and this is The Long Game. Thank you for listening, and may your life be rich in the dividends that only discipline can provide.